Well, you've mentioned creativity a couple of times with the motive running, clear mind. One of the other things that Pressfield says is creativity is a partnership. The muse is the form that creativity takes, but it's a partnership. Your job is to show up. So we just talked a lot about the showing up piece. So when you do show up and when you're in your muse, why is creativity important to you? And what does that mean for you? You're a creative guy, you're putting out a lot of content and stuff, but talk to me how you are framing and thinking about creativity.
Yeah, two parts. First, I'll answer, I want to come back to how I'm trying to cultivate creativity. But first, I'll answer why I care about creativity so much. I don't know if you asked, but
I did. Okay. I'm curious, yeah.
I work in tech, and I'm seeing firsthand how our culture, how our world is shifting to where humans need to be creative. We're going to get to a point in the next 2 or 3 years where all you're going to need to do is be creative, press a button, and that creativity will be created for you. While at the same time, the amount of creativity is dropping. For example, and I'm not knocking this at all because this is creative in a sense, but look at my sister's like the number one. She came to visit last week. The number one show on TV right now is I haven't watched it until last week, Love Island or whatever.
It's having its moment.
Holy moly! There's not much creativity going on there besides like shaking booty cheeks and stuff, right? Right. So you have this crazy technological development taking place that I don't think enough people are growing their minds to be able to use that tech enough. And so for me, that's really passionate about it. And so whoever's following me, my friends, my family, like I'm always urging and I'm always, dude, be creative, think more, right? And again, with the enemy is just always trying to throw things at us that is going to block our creativity. So we can't be creative. We can't use these tools and we can't better ourselves, right? And we always say, oh, it's funny to think that. Why? You would think your internal self wants the best for you and they want you to think clearly. Well, you're deep down, it's like the enemy is inside you as well, right? And they're trying to block you from getting to that next level of creativity with all these things. Long-winded answer saying I think creativity is the most reliable or most valuable resource in the future. And I want more of it. I want as much of it. I want all my friends to have it too. How do I cultivate creativity? I'm not forcing it. I'm just showing up, like you said. Truthfully, the best ideas I have for any sort of content, like on the moment or in the moment or content ideas, maybe not content ideas, but like creative ways to approach work problems or approach people at work, how to like build something new at work. It comes from just showing up immediately after a workout, right before I'm going to hit the workout when I'm in a good place with my friends, having a good time. I'm in a muse environment, if you will. It just pops. Yeah. And I'm really trying to stick with that. Truthfully, the last 4 or 5 like pieces of content I've put out there, I'm still getting used to saying that, right? Like it's a job. But like seriously, they've been really, I think, for me, funny. Yeah. And I haven't planned any of it. Just been sitting there. Oh, interesting. Yes. I showed up and interesting hit me. It's what Pressfield says. It is. And I swear I read the Pressfield book once, and it's funny we're coming back to this because it is all clicking and like, damn, he said it all.
He did, and it's so interesting. He even to the degree that he genders the muse and he calls it a she. It's like this essence of the feminine energy, which is the source of creation. The feminine creates all life. Yeah, it's the woman in the red dress kind of like, it's sexy, it's mysterious. And as a man, you've got to be in right relationship. You've got to be grounded to call that kind of feminine energy into your life. Pressfield even prays to the muse when he sits down to write. You know what he said, what you said about sometimes pick a week out of the month and it's just kind of like blah, and it feels like pulling teeth. He says the same thing. He said he was a 60-year overnight success. And the reason was that he kept sitting his ass where his heart wanted to be. So he said, you got to be pro. For you, putting your ass where your heart wants to be is getting in the gym. Yeah. It's doing the thing, even when you don't want to. And you're basically saying like, hey, Muse, I'm showing up again. And if it's a partnership, she honors that. And she, if you want to gender it, is then going to bless you with ideas. And I love what you said because Naval, this is a Navalism, and it's a simple one, but it's very on point. And I think if you do want to be a content creator or think of any of that, inspiration is perishable. And what he means by that is if you think you've got a great idea for that piece of content and you say, oh, that's really good, but now's not the right time, I'll do it later. Later won't work. When you come to make that same video that you thought was a great idea, it won't hit. You'll be like, this sucks now. I don't like it. I can't get it out.
Yeah.
So you have to act on inspiration because it's perishable and you're only going to have it for a few moments. It's like the God telephone is ringing and you're like, not right now, big guy. I'm busy. And you're like, well, then you don't get the prize. So you have to act on inspiration because it will vanish. And that's exactly what you just said. I don't know whether you've ever thought of it that way, but you're having a thought in the moment, like, I just want to say this, and it's natural. And you act on inspiration. And when you act on inspiration, it's almost never wrong. It's almost never wrong. It usually resonates more. It usually lands more. It's usually just because it's an essence of your true being coming through, which is awesome. Yeah.
I could not agree more. I think I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers, and just from a pure number standpoint, if you think about an idea that comes into your head, I guarantee you, this goes out to anyone who's like thinking about content creation or thinking about starting like a new muse. If you have a good idea, run it by 5 friends or your closest circle. I guarantee 1, 2 in your closest circle. Yeah, that's a cool idea. That's a good name. That's whatever. Now multiply that, because then there's going to be someone in their close circle, 1 or 2 in their close circle. So there's an audience for any idea.
Oh, yeah.
Any idea is an audience. It's just about, are you going to execute on it?
Well, to your first point around the importance of creativity, it's flexing that muscle, and there is an audience for any idea because we are going to be entering into an intellectually curiosity-starved world because people are outsourcing the creativity. We've got this consumption economy, and I think the more a person consumes, the less they can create. Because they're overfeeding themselves.
Yes.
Like if you overfeed yourself food, and especially if it's junky food, that's not going to fuel you appropriately. You're going to get inflammation. If you seriously overfeed, you're going to put on 20 pounds and then you're not going to be able to thrive the way you want to. But not many of us think about our intellectual consumption in the same way. We're on a junk food, like amygdala hijacking, cortisol driving, just machine fed junk food diet of information, and then that blocks our creativity. So you've got to do less of the consumption and more of the creation. And if you do, there's probably at least a couple, but probably hundreds or thousands of people that will resonate with your unique muse, your unique creative insight, because they're probably thinking it too and needing it.
Yes, but you have to find that, right? More difficult, it's slower,
yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But a slow muse is still a good muse.
Yeah, that's a good one. A slow muse is still a good muse. Yeah, that's one of those things that you can't... I mean, it's very interesting hearing you're like living in 2 worlds almost. And I think that's really cool in the sense because you work in tech. So you probably understand it more than the average person because you like live this world. Yeah. But sometimes being in the world allows you to see it for what it is. And I think, straddling, how do we stay human? How do we stay curious? How do we stay fun? How do we stay creative in a world that is basically going to say that it can do all of that for us is a pretty interesting conundrum. What is your role in tech? You don't need to go into the specifics, but is it with AI?
Yeah, broadly, I work as a machine learning engineer for a tech company here in Austin. So what that means is I generally just use numbers and coding to make strategic business decisions is probably the way I dumb it down and mansplain it. But yeah, a lot of my day-to-day is using AI.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd say my work days are 3 hours long because I can get all the work done, all my messages automated, everything with a bow tied on it, ready for review, ready for productionization in 3 hours with the use of AI.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I mean by quite literally, I press a button and have all these automated flows go that pretty much take my mind and it does it for me in the computer. And so it's like that's creative.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you, what would be your advice for someone who wants to use tech and AI and things as a tool, but not so that the tech uses them and they become the tool? How do you maximize that?
Could I give you what a project workflow looks like for me using ChatGPT? Yeah, I use ChatGPT or Claude. And if I'm working on a Muse project, I want to build out, let's just say an app, basic web app. I'll go to ChatGPT, I'll create a new project, and I'll be like, hey, you're my co-founder. Here's the characteristics I need you to have. Here are my flaws. Really set the, like you're having a coffee with your co-founder. This is what I need you to do for me. And then if you're missing the technical side or if you're missing the business, the creative thinking side, whatever, you ask Chat to step in there. The coding side is boring for me. I don't want to do the coding. So I ask that. And I just walk step by step. Here's how I want this to look. Boom, let's work through this. Here's how I want the next page to look. Here's how I want someone to click, right? Simple is better, of course, because if you're starting out. But I just will work through project, and then I'll come back to it. And then I'll keep working through it. And it's a conversation, a working conversation, copy and paste what they're giving me, put it into a text editor if you're technical. But I mean, hey, maybe this is a business idea or a tutorial on how to be creative in the right way. But conversation. I generally all the AI tools I have conversations with it, so it gets to know me, how I learn, how I think, how I communicate, and then I just use it as a hand holder to walk through the technical development of whatever project I'm on.
Cool. Yeah, it's interesting to me to think about. I'm somewhat reluctant to full send into the world of AI just because I know my own tendencies, and I don't want to get lazy. I don't want to start outsourcing my brain, outsourcing my inspiration. And I think the way you're describing it is learning how you're still calling in the muse, you're still acting on the inspiration. There's the idea, and then you're using the AI as a tool to facilitate either the completion of that or accelerate it. Much like we use tools in the gym. Like if you want to get stronger, you can get really strong using body weight, but you start throwing in kettlebells and barbells as tools, they can accelerate that progress, right? So as long as you are using the tool mindfully and not completely becoming dependent on it, it seems to be that it's going to spur on a lot of advancement. But there's always this tension of like, how much is too much and what do we do? And I think part of that is just, this balance point. All right, friends, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Radical Health Radio. We got a fresh new podcast for you every Wednesday. If you enjoyed the show, consider liking, subscribing, reviewing, and rating us on your podcast platform. It helps to spread this message of radical health. We'll see you next week.